All right. So what's going on, everybody? Today, I wanted to address something that I said yesterday when I was talking about partnership. I was talking about the clients and the whole bit about project managers promising something and partnering with your clients so that they know what the actual impact of the ask is. I didn't want it to come across like I wasn't interested in doing hard work, because it could actually sound like that, because I was saying, if you partner with your client, it's you're the expert in the field, and so they might just be asking, can we do this? And if you're not there to answer the question yes or no, or this is going to cost more than you think it is. You don't say it that way, but it's going to cost half the budget to do this extra little bit. They might say, oh yeah, no, don't do that. But the idea of partnership is very important to understand that you want to do your best to see all the foreseeable emergencies that could be there and plan ahead. But sometimes you just can't. And COVID is a perfect example of this. Let's go over here for story time. So back in 2020, obviously, I don't know why I have to think about that. Back in 2020, a really good example of this is that I was working with a client, and we did this filming and the photography for this project for it was about a year. And let's see, just gotta turn you back up. Here we go. This is the issue when you don't focus on your lighting. So we had this project, and it was done. This was done, and they had approved the video, and it was for an area of the city. It was kind of like hey, come to our city. We're doing construction. We're doing this cool project, but we're open during construction. And it was like the city inspired kind of thing. So it was the businesses there are still open, even though the street is basically closed down. And so there was this cool little, this effort to help the businesses stay alive. And so the video was great. The finalized video is approved. It was ready to go out. And I think it was supposed to go out in like June or the beginning of summer, maybe the end of spring, something like that. And then, of course, 2020 hit, and that closed everything down. So not just the issue with the clients, not just the issues with the businesses physically being closed. The whole world's shut down. I think it was like March when it really impacted California. And so they loved the video, but we had to scrap quite a bit of it, because when we filmed it, obviously people are close. They were walking side by side on the street, and nobody was wearing masks. And they still had this timeline that they had to put out this video, let's say it was June. They had to put this video out in June. And the problem was that now the language, now the stuff that had to go out COVID friendly, which is interesting because the production was it was over a year. But I think it might have been like the public perception was like, hey, how come you have people walking down the street and they're next to each other? We're supposed to be 6 feet apart. Or I think actually at this time was when the only time you could go out was to go get groceries. And even then, one of you, if me and my wife, only one of you can go get groceries. And it was crazy. But that was one of those things that we couldn't see. Nobody could foresee COVID. So that would be like I don't know if marketing emergency is the right word. That's not quite right. But you know what I mean. Nobody could see it coming. They still needed to get this thing out for stakeholder engagement. They had a schedule they had to stick to that was, if they tried to move that marketing schedule, it would affect so many other things. So that's when you roll up your sleeves and you say, yeah, let's do this. It's not so much a question of Well, what you're asking for is, that's going to be more past the budget. You let them know. You say, hey, we're going to have to do reshoots, or we're going to have to cut this or that, and try to get creative. And you let them know, and you partner with them, and they get to make the decision of like, oh, yeah, we only have $10,000 left in the budget, or we have no budget left. So what can we do with no budget? So it's partnering in those emergencies that nobody can see past or see coming. That's when you roll up your sleeves, and that's, I think, the importance of partnership, because they know that you've got their back, just like me and my wife. Like, no matter what happens, if something comes up, I have her back, she's got my back. Even if we planned ahead and, something happens, whatever, the tires go out and all of a sudden we have to spend $2,000 on tires, it's okay, we'll figure it out. So I just kind of want to make that clear, that it wasn't that I don't want to work. I'm not saying that we shouldn't work. I'm not saying that, hey, you are trying to overburden me with your work, like your expectation. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's very important to realize kind of those partnerships. Yeah. By the way, unrelated, but I just kind of want to show this off. So I did mention yesterday that I'm really into history and I like the 18th century and whatnot, right? So I got this side of my room, this like one, it's an accent wall. You see that like red? It's actually, I think it's called colonial red. So we got that, and then the rest of the room is this blue, right? And that's the rest of like my professional area. So we got my cameras over here, and that. Let me tell you a story about this real quick. So this guy right here, this is procrastination in action. This right here, this is a frame that I got to be a secondary frame for this guy. Can you see this guy? I don't know if there's enough light. Yeah, so right there is that's some Photoshop artwork that I did, right? It's eyeballs in a glass. It's based off of a sketch that my wife did. And so I said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if, right, I have that one over there, and then I got this one right here, and it kind of like, levels that. It kind of makes it pretty symmetrical. Well, I did this about 2 years ago, maybe 3, and I said, oh yeah, I'll do another Photoshop piece of artwork, and I'm gonna print that up in there. And then I had a couple different ones, and I'm like, oh, they're not good enough, and they're, it's that whole like artist mentality. So I know which one I'm going to put in here. Actually, you might have seen it on my Instagram. It's kind of the Haunted Mansion inspired Photoshop like composite that I did for the actual shoot that I did for Preservation Worcester. They did a Rural Remains tour, and I took photos, and then I took one of those photos and I made it ghostly and fun. So I'm going to actually put that up in here. So I'm going to do it. It's been 3 years, so I figured it's probably long enough. Yeah, so the idea here is you have to know when to roll up your sleeves, and your client has to know that you have their back to roll up your sleeves and that you're willing to do it. And they have to have complete trust in you. And that's relationships, and that's building relationships. And that's what I love so much about owning my own business. The work that I get to do, like seriously, I get to be a photographer. I wanted that since I was like 15. A couple of those cameras over there are, this one here is my dad's, and that's a gift from my uncle. And my brother, who I looked up to like crazy, like the younger brothers do to their brothers, they like hold them up on a pedestal. He was into photography. He was in college at the time, and he was learning it. And I said, oh yeah, me too, I want to do it. And so my dad, his other uncle, or my dad's uncle, this is one that my uncle gave my dad. This one is one that my dad's uncle owned. And this is what I learned on. So I would go around in Boston and do shoots with my brother, and just like follow him around like a puppy dog, and So I wanted to do it way back then, and I didn't because the practicality of it. The you can't do that, kid, because who's going to pay you any kind of living wage to take photos, right? So the fact that I get to, hey, my face right here, come on, there you go. The fact that I get to meet cool people and see what their story is and see what their message is about and help them tell that story through photos or through video is spectacular. It's the other part of this partnership kind of thing is it does take a lot of work when you're working on your own, or if you have a team of guys or ladies. If you have a team or if you have people that you need to call on to do a job, you're responsible for a lot. Even if it's just me, I'm responsible for a lot. And there's a lot of people counting on me. My clients are counting on me to go out and do the shoots and capture what it is that they need done. But those 1 or 2 in the morning, like if I'm still working, I've been working all day, I've been working 16 hours, it's different when it's for yourself. That investment, those sacrifices are different. And the stress is very different. And I don't want to belittle that because that's so important to remember. And it's why I'm doing this. It's why I'm building 124 and why I'm doing these little like vlog style things. Anyway, I don't know how long this is, so I don't want to make it too long. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, be good to each other. Oh, and last other thing, I did light it. I couldn't not light it. It was really bad here, and I was gonna have to put the ISO really high, and you got that light back there, and then it was also, you got that yellow light competing with the white light, and then I was having this like Anakin versus Obi-Wan moment going on, so I did that. That's not bad. That actually would have been cool, but anyway. All right, bye.